Thank you. Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Wow, that was great. Good way to start the morning. You know it when love's got a hold of you, right? Well, we're talking about love today, our love story. But we're not going to talk about romance and biology so much as our larger love story, the story that humanity has and is engaged in and is trying to live. Trying to let it come through, trying to let it have a hold of us. And it's a big story. So love is one of those aspects of being human that's kind of mysterious. I mean, we all know it, we feel it, we long for it, we might even chase it, we wait for it to come to us, we lavish it on some people and withhold it with others, but we often misunderstand it. Emerson said, love is omnipresent in nature as motive and reward. That's a beautiful statement. We really think about that one. Love is always the motive, and sometimes it's thwarted, and so it turns into something else. But there's something in us called love. It's an energy that is pushing us to connect, to become one with, to feel interdependent with. And it's a highly motivating energy that has to be cultivated in us. So it has many levels of reality. So there's three of them that apply to our teaching. And one of them is that love is a universal power that brings things together that belong together and maintains them in harmony and balance. And two, it is the attractor energy. Love is the magnetic field throughout the universe, and it draws to us as individuals what is most dominant in our self-identity. Three, it is the power that makes all things new. Emerson also said, love is our highest symbol for God. So we think of God as the power that makes all things new, that is ever present, always available, but must come through an avenue, a vehicle, which would be, of course, humanity, would be us. So we say God is love. And what we usually mean by that is God is some kind of non-judging, unconditionally present spiritual energy that feels personal. That's the beautiful thing about it. It's both presence and it is both principle. Now we list the things we love, everything from dark chocolate to ocean breezes. Although the energy of love, the sense of being one with, is born in us, but it has to be cultivated. You know, during World War II, there were some observations made of children in orphanages. And there was one place that had babies, and they were cribs just jammed together in this huge facility, to the point that the nurses really couldn't cuddle the babies, pick them up. All they could get to was giving them a bottle and changing their diapers. And after a couple of years of being in that environment, they never really fully developed. In fact, many of them were labeled mentally impaired. And sociologists and psychologists traced it to the lack of love being expressed or modeled to them so that it could be triggered within. But nevertheless, it is something that can be cultivated later. It's sort of never too late. Love is so powerful. It's never too late. On the other hand, here's another really great study. This is something I read about 20 years ago. A group of babies were born with AIDS. Their mothers had AIDS. And they were put in a medical facility where there was lots of loving nurses. And those nurses just lavished those babies with love. And later, when they were retested, the AIDS wasn't there. It's a power that makes all things new. For one thing, metaphysically, the babies didn't know they had AIDS, right? Totally innocent, clean consciousness, responsive to love. So is there anything that love cannot do? Well, I guess it depends on our perception of what it is, how available it is, and how we access it. So first and foremost, it is a sense of being one with. That's really what love is. And you think about it in relationships, especially when they're brand new and you're wildly in love. You have a sense of being one with that person, right? Maybe when you love something, you have a sense of being one with the idea or one with the philosophy, or one with the group. There is a sense of oneness. And why would we even feel that? Because it's true. Because we are one with everything. We're not separate. This last Friday I wrote something. I'm going to read it partially because it really applies to love, the bigger picture. Emerson, who's my favorite guy to quote, and a lot of people's favorite guy to quote, he observed that the microscope cannot find any life form that is less perfect for being small. Every particle of life is a representation of the universal. Now scientists say the universe is kind of a hologram. That one piece of it contains the whole thing, like the bubble in the ocean. One bubble contains the whole ocean as far as what it's made out of. It's representation of a universal substance out of which we all draw our individuality. We're all the same stuff, as Carl Sagan said, star stuff. The elephant and the flea, humans and worms, are all a version of one life. The animating force we have named God. Now, a lot of people don't want to relate to worms, but that's just ego. Everything that lives is one something being it, comes out of the same field of intelligence, and is moved into form on the energy of love, drawing to itself from within what it needs to be that form. Okay, so the elephant and the flea, humans and worms, are all a version of one life, but the animating force is love, and we have named it God. Now, the problem with naming things is they make things seem to be separate from us. We sure did that with God, put God way up there in the sky. It's a useful tool in the time-space dimension, but it's also fraught with danger. So if we do not understand our initial oneness, our basic oneness with everything, then difference may seem like a threat. Doesn't that make sense? If we don't get that we're all one, then what looks different from us could be threatening to us. We become territorial. We become tribal. And we have a made-up list of why we are superior to the others who don't look like us. So racism, sexism, homophobia, ageism, they're all born out of the fear of difference. Just the fear of difference alone is the reason those things exist. And it's a spiritual problem. It has a spiritual evolution or solution. The problem has been a religious philosophy devoid of science and giving rise to beliefs that all things, including God, are separate from each other. It's a real big problem on planet Earth. But it's just a perception. Love is the answer. Feeling one with solves it. So modern New Thought spirituality that we teach here embraces this new science that is indicating one something is being all. And I know, without a doubt, we're in the middle of it. And in the years that come, we will see this clearly proven by science, and it will embrace spirituality. It will cause huge shifts in our human perception of reality, of who we are. But at first, it will cause tremendous resistance. You know that old saying, the truth will set you free, but first, it'll really tick you off, right? People desperately want to hold on to their perceived superiority because it is equal to power in our mind. So we're seeing some of that now as those who were minorities are rising into stature and accomplishment. I saw a piece today on CBS Morning News show. I love that show. It said out of 4,000 monuments around our country, 4,000, only 400 are women. And so there's now a movement to have the women of history there's a vast amount of women who have done wonderful things that no one knows about, to be created, have monuments created. And they had to fight City Hall in New York to get that idea accepted for Central Park. Really interesting. You've probably seen the movies Hidden Figures about the math whiz women that had to do with the space program there now. So things are coming to light. I watched this wonderful thing last night on Netflix called Above Us Only Sky about John Lennon and Yoko. And when near the end of his life, he said, and it he was on in the movie saying it. He said, the words to imagine were really Yoko's words. She wrote it. Yeah. And he said, but at the time I had such a big ego and I was so macho, I just couldn't give her credit. He actually said that. Huh? Yeah, but he wrote the music. She wrote the words. They were in her book of poetry called Grapefruit before he ever got the idea. So it really was a collaboration. But this is what happens when love is pushing us. And I'm talking about I'm talking about love as a spiritual energy that wants things to be whole, that has a natural tendency to create wholeness, healthiness, unity, oneness. That's what love does. It brings things together that belong together. So you can't leave some people out of it, right? If it's the human race we're working on, it's got to be everybody. And that's where we are now. So it's a really tumultuous time, but it always is when consciousness is changing its mind. Have you ever changed an idea about your life? It caused some tumult. Maybe the people around you felt threatened because you were acting differently, or you changed the rules on them. That often happens, right? Unless we're communicating properly. So the Beatles were right. All we need is love. Some people say, why is there such diversity on the planet then? Why don't we all look the same? Well, wouldn't that be boring? I mean, diversity is to delight the senses. It's like, if that isn't love, I don't know, if that isn't Spirit loving us, giving us things to play with, things to appreciate, variety, color, different species. I mean, it's magnificent on this one little planet alone, the diversity that's here. It's just stunning. Why? Just for the joy of it, just for the fun of it, just because he can do that. And it did it for us, if you will, right? So all we need is love. And so this is where we are as a culture right now. We are seeing the effects of separation from God, from each other, from nature, and that means from love. Because love is so evident in nature. You know, now that we have such things as Facebook, we are beginning to see the interaction of animal species to one another in a way that is quite stunning. You see cats petting birds, not preparing them to be wonked, but just petting them. You see dogs and deer sharing the same little dog bed. All kinds of interspecies love. It's just so obvious. And elephants coming to the aid of people who are in trouble out there in the savannah. It's incredible. We have been lying to ourselves for so long about how species hate each other. No, they don't. They get along fine because love is their nature. It's the energy that each species has with it. It's the energy to reproduce. It's the energy to form groups. It's the energy to include. All the things that we value come from the power of love. And it is starting to push us forward. So at the same time that the tumultuous field is going on, love is pushing us. It is pulling us forward. It's the driving force behind all the good that's happening. And there is so much good that's happening. I mean, we talk about this a lot, but just get on the internet and look at it. Google innovation, Google new inventions, Google cleaning up the ocean. People are doing all the things that other people are saying can't be done. They're already doing it because they love the planet, because they love humanity, because they want it to be a place that works for everybody. So love is the driving force, and a sense of being one with others is its basic nature. Now, first, however, we have to feel one with our source. I remember when I was a student, one of my teachers, Dr. Bill Little, who was an amazing teacher, he said, your relationship with God indicates every other relationship you have. Think about this. If our relationship with Source is that it is within us, it is the power that makes all things new, it is part of us, it is not up there, out there, somewhere else, it's right here expressing through us, aren't we going to be different in relationship? Will we be as defensive, as fearful, or will we stand for who we are and see it in the other? This is the higher level of relationship that each one of us is capable of. We really are. But how we feel about Source, and you call it God or call it Spirit or call it something else, is key to how we handle all relationships. It's the first one. Isn't there something about that in the Christian Bible, the Christian teachings about love God first? I don't know, maybe I just made that up, but it makes sense. Love God first and all else shall be added. How could we not love this power that has created this universe, which is so freaking amazing? Everything about it is love in action. So love is how our lives become what they are now, our use of love. What we love tends to expand and grow. Now here's the stunning truth. This is the fun part of our teaching, the law. If God is love, the presence, which we can feel, we feel it as happiness and joy and well-being, and we feel the presence. It's also law, principle. That's how the presence moves through time, space, is on law, principle, like anything else, electricity, anything else. The creative intelligence takes us at our word. Now that's all over spiritual literature. The word is first, the word is made manifest. It's true of us. Because we're so loved that our word is taken as verbatim. It's taken as love. You see, let's think about this. The law assumes we love whatever we give our attention to. Because God is love, and God is all there is, and love is all there is. It doesn't know anything but love. It doesn't know anything but love. It doesn't know we have a problem. It doesn't know we're sick. It doesn't know we're lacking. It only knows what we give our attention to and makes more of it. It makes more of it and expands it and evolves it. Okay, so I'm going to ask some questions today. And if it triggers something in you, that's a good word. Triggers something inside of you, good. Hang on to that when you go home and think about it, write about it, journal about it. Are you in a state of being in love with lack? Constantly talking about it, constantly affirming it. Then you know what you're doing? You're having an abusive relationship with God. If God is love, love is all there is. This is kind of interesting to think about this way, isn't it? Are you in a state of love with fear? Fear for the future, fear for the unknown, the not yet known. That's another denial of the power within. Are we in a state of love with what we don't want? How much time do we spend saying what we don't want rather than what is true and can be ours, right? So we want to give our full attention to the good, the true, and the beautiful, to what's positive, what's real. What is real in life? Love, peace, joy, celebration, individuality. These are real. Everything else is just a perception. But those things are the real qualities that we have inherited and that we live from and that are real in us. All right, so love is the energy that activates desire into form and experience. As far as God is concerned, there is love and nothing else. And we could say there's God and nothing else. And everything that is God being it. So we are absolutely one with each other, and we are one with Spirit. So our story about love can be the reason we're struggling in other areas of our life besides relationship. Most everything is a relationship with money, a relationship with vitality, a relationship with inner peace. These are all relationships. But if we say that, and maybe you've said this in your life, because most of us had, especially when we were teenagers, love hurts. Love is painful. Love is hard to get. Love is only for the young. Then what we're saying is that God hurts. God causes pain. God is only for the young, because God is love. This is not just semantics. We're talking about levels of reality that are actually observable. So a wise teacher once said, our relationship with God is the real source of everything else in our life. Everything is a reflection of that. When you think about it, when you get off, when you get in trouble, when life is not good, haven't you engaged in a little bit of feeling that the source that makes all things new is kind of far away from you or not paying attention to you? It feels like spirit, the source, is separate from us. And almost every enduring spiritual tradition says that's the problem and that's the answer. That the separation from God is what has caused lack on this planet and everything else that plagues us. That if we embrace our oneness with it, we would embrace all the qualities of it, and our experience would be very different. So that's why we always go there first, as it were. Our way of beginning a new series of cause and effect is to go home, to go to that place where we praise the Spirit. We praise God. We praise its oneness with all life. We praise it as the only power there is. We praise it as formless, changeless, birthless, deathless, but constantly moving in and out of form just for the joy of it. The other day on the Facebook, somebody asked this question. It said, why would God create us? And a couple of us from metaphysics answered in this vein. I just said, just because it can. Just for the joy of it, just for the fun of it. Well, isn't that why we're here? For the joy of living, for the fun of being us? And why do we deny ourselves what would add to our joy and our fun and our health and our playfulness? It all begins in our mind with what we declare we love. So the first step of spiritual mind treatment, which is 21st century prayer, is always to praise the Spirit and to announce its presence, that there's only one something being all. And it's the source of everything living and everything that shall ever live, and it's running through everything that lives right now. It's not far away. It's constantly giving, lavishly and relentlessly, as Ernest Holmes, the founder of this teaching, said. I remember when I first heard those words, I just kind of jumped. Lavishly and relentlessly pouring itself into the mold of our consciousness. Is that love? To me it is. That's a perfect love. So giving unconditionally. Then we declare our unity in it. We unify with it. We can't be separate from it. It's not possible. And that means love is essentially what we are. It's essentially what we are. And what love does is seek and find its object of affection, or that which it feels one with, in the outer world. And that's the magnetic aspect of love, and it's always working. So we shall always have what we seem to be in love with in our personal love story. Maybe it's up for renewal. If you could adopt today a powerful new idea about love in your life, what would it be? What would it be? Anybody want to shout out something? Oh, not all at once. Take turns. I mean, seriously, when you say something out loud like that, it's really powerful. Yes.
Well, I will say loving me more.
Loving yourself more. That's a good place to start. Somebody else said something over here.
Seeing the love in others. Seeing them as love. Others as love. Seeing who they really are.
Oh, seeing others as love. Absolutely. We have to extend it beyond these borders, right? I'm not saying this stuff is easy. I'm saying it's worth paying attention to, right? And adopting it. It's simple. It's very simple. But it does take a decision. It just like someone was saying to me this morning that they know meditation is great, but they can't always make themselves do it. That there is a bit of discipline in spiritual practice, where when we really believe that what we're saying here is true and our lives can change dramatically for the better, then why aren't we practicing it? Well, it's that separate ego stuff going on, that the old-time ideas that are still cooking around in there. So that's why we want to address it every day and maybe write affirmations or journal about it or speak it out loud. Walk around your house saying, I am love in action. My life is a joy to behold. Just keep doing it. And when we really start feeling the energy of that, we are motivated to renew ourselves. And one way to do it is meditation and spiritual mind treatment, which we're going to do right now. Okay? So today we're going to treat about allowing more love into our experience from the inside out, knowing that it'll be reflected out there. So we always begin by going home to the place where everything begins, and that is the field of consciousness that is universal, and it is the only field there is. It is the invisible realm of cause. It is that quivering intelligence in right relationship to love that brings forth visible versions of itself. This is what God does. This is what Spirit does. It makes universes out of itself and everything in it. This never leaves us because it is essentially the core of our being. So unconditional in its love that we are allowed to think we're separate from it. But what happens when we remember? God and I are one. All that Spirit is what I am. And so today, let's just give our mind a chance to slow down enough to remember, to grasp that truth. There's something in me that is greater than any experience I've ever had or thought I could have. There's something in me that knows there are no boundaries. There is no limitation. There is only powerful energy seeking outlet to become the world we want to live in. Someone said, the God you believe in is your vote for the kind of world you want to live in. I believe God is love. And I believe love is everywhere present all the time, all of it, right here, right now, within each and every one of us. I believe that love is the energy of this teaching, of the center, of the possible. I believe that love guides us, directs us, leads us, and moves us into greater levels of expression that we might contribute to the transformation of human consciousness through each life that we are. So I know for everyone here that we have ears to hear, and that our inner hearing, our intuition is sharp. And it is telling us a new story of love. It says it's right where you are. It's never been anywhere else. You have all the love you could ever imagine or want. Just let it out. Let it take us somewhere we've never been. Let it transform our relationships, beginning with our relationship with self. Let's make a pact, a covenant, that from this moment on, we will honor ourselves and each other as if we are God incarnate. Because we are. And so we move through this day and every day to follow with a greater ease, a greater joy, a greater playfulness, a greater relaxation, a greater eagerness, a greater willingness to connect, to partner, to share, to collaborate. This is what the world is looking for. Let's give it. And so with great gratitude for ourselves, each other, this place, this teaching, and all souls everywhere, moving from the core of their being, we simply say, it is done. It is so, and so it is.